What actually happens when a country runs out of money and can no longer pay its bills? Sri Lanka recently faced this nightmare, showing how fragile a national economy can become. To understand the crisis, we must see how debt and poor policy decisions triggered collapse. It started with massive foreign borrowing used for projects that failed to generate revenue. Borrowing for infrastructure is normal, but debt without productivity creates economic disaster. Then came sweeping 2019 tax cuts, sharply reducing the government's ability to collect revenue. This sudden income loss forced the country to borrow even more just to survive financially. The global pandemic then crushed tourism, which was a major source of foreign currency. Without tourism income, Sri Lanka struggled to pay for fuel, food, and essential medicines. Foreign reserves vanished rapidly as the government tried defending the rupee's value. By early 2022, the crisis turned severe, causing shortages and nationwide protests. Sovereign default happens when a nation officially declares it cannot repay international creditors. For citizens, this meant extreme inflation and loss of basic services almost overnight. Sri Lanka's story reminds us national finance needs discipline, productivity, and careful planning. Let's now explore the warning signs every nation must monitor to avoid similar collapse.
The first major warning sign of a failing economy is a persistent and rising trade deficit. A trade deficit happens when a nation spends more on imports than it earns from exports. For Sri Lanka, importing essential fuel and food costs far exceeded earnings from tea exports. When a country lacks foreign currency to pay imports, the local currency loses value rapidly. This currency devaluation makes petrol, rice, and daily essentials far more expensive for citizens. Another warning sign is when governments rely heavily on short-term debt for long-term projects. Borrowing money needing quick repayment puts huge pressure on the national treasury monthly. If projects fail to generate fast cash flow, the country borrows more just to pay interest. This creates a dangerous debt trap where total debt grows faster than the real economy. Investors and global banks lose confidence when a nation's debt becomes completely unsustainable. When confidence disappears, interest rates spike, making future borrowing nearly impossible. Sri Lanka became locked out of global markets with no way left to refinance loans. Managing a national budget needs balance like a household, but on a global scale. We must know the difference between productive debt that builds wealth and destructive debt that drains it. Let's now see how central bank decisions can either save a nation or accelerate collapse.
To understand national collapse, we must examine how central banks manage and control money supply. A central bank's main role is maintaining price stability and ensuring the local currency holds value. When Sri Lanka's government needed funds, the central bank printed massive amounts of local currency. This is monetary expansion, but without matching goods production, it quickly leads to inflation. As more money chases the same food and fuel supply, prices rise uncontrollably. The central bank then faced a dilemma: raise interest rates or keep them low. Keeping rates low too long encouraged more borrowing, further fueling the growing economic crisis. Meanwhile, foreign exchange reserves were spent to artificially support the rupee's exchange rate. Defending the currency became like holding back a flood using a small leaking bucket. Eventually, reserves fell to levels where even 1 month of imports became unaffordable. At this stage, currency black markets emerge, further weakening the official rupee exchange value. Businesses cannot plan future operations when they don't know currency value tomorrow morning. This uncertainty stops domestic investment, causing the entire national economy to shrink rapidly. Economic collapse works like a chain reaction, where one bad decision forces many worse ones. Understanding these internal levers shows why some nations recover fast, while others stay stuck.
Macroeconomic theories become painful reality when families can no longer afford basic bread. In Sri Lanka, lost purchasing power turned middle-class savings into pocket change almost overnight. Constant price changes create permanent anxiety, where every purchase feels like a serious financial risk. Long fuel lines became a tragic symbol of a system failing to provide basic energy. When electricity is rationed, businesses close and students study using dim candlelight. Seeing hard-earned money lose half its value creates trauma that can last decades. Social trust erodes as people compete for scarce cooking gas, medicine, and clean drinking water. National bankruptcy is not just a financial error. Many skilled professionals migrate, causing massive brain drain and slowing future national recovery. For elderly people on fixed pensions, inflation spikes meant choosing between food and medication. Daily survival replaces long-term planning, pausing dreams and growth of an entire generation. Yet these moments reveal strong community resilience, with neighbors sharing limited resources to survive. We must understand how supply chain breakdown affects both farmers and urban office workers. The real lesson is that strong national finances are the foundation of a stable society.
Recovery begins with the difficult decision to seek help from the International Monetary Fund for stabilization. An IMF bailout provides a crucial foreign currency safety net while deep structural reforms begin. The first step is debt restructuring, where the country negotiates new terms with global lenders. Creditors extend deadlines or reduce interest rates to give the economy room to recover. To stop black markets, the central bank allows the rupee to float based on demand. Floating the currency causes initial price spikes, but eventually leads to a stable exchange rate. The government must implement strict austerity, cutting spending while increasing tax revenues again. Though painful, these reforms prove to global markets that the nation is financially responsible. Social safety nets expand simultaneously to protect vulnerable citizens from austerity impacts. Gradually, foreign reserves grow as exports rise and tourism begins steady recovery. Remittances from citizens working abroad also help inject fresh foreign currency into the system. Recovery needs patience, as rebuilding a collapsed economy takes years of consistent policy discipline. Restoring global trust is key, allowing the country to borrow again at lower interest rates. As inflation cools, the central bank can slowly reduce interest rates to encourage growth. Local businesses reopen as business costs become predictable and stable again. Stabilization means shifting from constant survival toward long-term economic planning. Sri Lanka's recovery progress offers a blueprint for nations recovering from financial collapse. It shows the importance of transparency and accountability in managing every dollar of public money. A diverse economy with multiple revenue streams defends best against future global financial shocks. Next, let's explore lessons other developing nations must learn to avoid similar crises. Every global economic crisis leaves early warning signs that other nations must carefully study. The most dangerous signal is a debt-to-GDP ratio rising steadily without a clear repayment plan. When total national debt exceeds annual economic output, the risk of sudden default rises sharply. Another red flag is heavy reliance on a single industry for most foreign currency earnings. If that industry fails, like tourism during a pandemic, the entire financial system can freeze quickly. We must also monitor hidden dangers like off-budget borrowing by state-owned firms and banks. These hidden debts often remain unnoticed until requiring massive government bailouts to survive. A strong, independent central bank is the first defense against political pressure to print money. When politicians control printing, every global economic crisis leaves early warning signs that other nations must carefully study. The most dangerous signal is a debt-to-GDP ratio rising steadily without a clear repayment plan. When total national debt exceeds annual economic output, the risk of sudden default rises sharply. Another red flag is heavy reliance on a single industry for most foreign currency earnings. If that industry fails, like tourism during a pandemic, the entire financial system can freeze quickly. We must also monitor hidden dangers like off-budget borrowing by state-owned firms and banks. These hidden debts often remain unnoticed until requiring massive government bailouts to survive. A strong, independent central bank is the first defense against political pressure to print money. When politicians control printing, short-term popularity usually leads to long-term hyperinflation and collapse. Foreign exchange reserves should cover at least 6 months of essential imports. Anything lower leaves a nation exposed to sudden spikes in global oil or food prices. Transparency in government spending is not only moral, it is essential for economic security. Corruption and mismanagement act like slow leaks in ships, eventually causing total economic sinking. Diversification is critical, meaning nations must have multiple ways to earn and grow wealth. Investing in education and technology builds a high-value workforce able to compete globally. Developing nations must build strong local bond markets to reduce reliance on foreign debt. Borrowing in local currency is safer because repayment and interest mechanisms remain under national control. However, this only works if citizens trust the currency enough to save and invest. A sudden move towards protectionism and high tariffs often signals a country is running low on cash. These policies help short-term, but usually cause long-term stagnation and economic isolation. Global markets are interconnected, and crises in one region can quickly spread to neighbors. This is financial contagion, where fear spreads faster than actual economic data can respond. Countries with similar economic structures usually feel the impact first during nearby collapses. Maintaining a strong credit rating keeps borrowing costs manageable for future development. A single downgrade can trigger massive capital flight as investors withdraw funds quickly. Consistent policy and rule of law attract high-quality foreign direct investment. Investors prefer stability and predictability more than risky opportunities promising extreme returns. Sri Lanka's lesson shows economic reality cannot be ignored for long periods. Nations cannot borrow towards prosperity unless debt is used to build real productivity. Next, let's see how technology helps detect financial cracks before they become disasters.
Today, advanced AI helps global analysts monitor national debt levels with far higher precision. Machine learning algorithms now flag unusual currency shifts months before traditional banks detect them. Satellite imagery lets researchers track port activity and supply chain health globally in real time. Blockchain in government spending ensures every public dollar is traceable and publicly accountable. Early warning systems act like financial smoke detectors, alerting the world to potential defaults. Analysts monitor social media sentiment to predict when economic stress could trigger civil unrest. These digital tools enable real-time inflation tracking, replacing slower, outdated monthly reports. Global debt transparency efforts make it harder for nations to hide risky, high-interest loans. Sri Lanka's experience shows personal financial discipline matters as much as national policy. Just like nations, individuals must diversify income streams to survive economic downturns. Think of your emergency fund as your personal foreign exchange reserve during crises. Keeping debt-to-income ratios low protects personal credit rating and financial stability. In 2026, Sri Lanka shows steady recovery signs driven by reforms and global support. Rebuilding tourism through sustainable travel is restoring vital foreign currency earnings. A shift toward green energy is slowly reducing dependence on expensive imported fossil fuels. Agricultural reforms help move the country toward food sovereignty and protection from price shocks. Investing in technical education is creating digital workers capable of earning global income. International cooperation remains essential, proving no nation can fully stand alone today. The IMF is evolving to include climate resilience alongside traditional fiscal debt management. Avoiding the middle-income trap requires constant movement toward innovation over low-cost manufacturing. Geopolitical shifts are changing funding sources, making diplomacy crucial for financial strategy. Debt-for-nature swaps help reduce national debt while protecting critical natural ecosystems. Central bank digital currencies are being explored to streamline payments and reduce costs. True recovery often begins at community level, where small businesses drive sustainable growth. Sri Lanka's resilience shows that even after collapse, a nation can rebuild stronger. Younger generations use digital platforms to demand transparency and better fiscal responsibility. Financial literacy must be treated as a basic right to protect people from predatory lending. In 2026's interconnected world, one nation's economy directly affects global prosperity. Though economies move in cycles, bankruptcy lessons help build stronger future foundations. Now, let's close with how individuals can contribute to long-term global financial stability. Economic recovery is a marathon, not a sprint, requiring resilience from every member of society. By learning from Sri Lanka's path, we can build a world where financial stability is never ignored. True wealth is not only numbers, it is the security and happiness of people. Every financial choice today builds the base for a stable and prosperous future tomorrow. Knowledge is your strongest asset, and understanding systems is the first step to financial freedom. Moving forward, we must choose transparency, accountability, and wisdom to prepare for future challenges. Sri Lanka's story is one of hardship, but more importantly, a powerful story of hope. Thank you for joining this journey to understand the complex world of global finance. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember,
resilient worlds start with financial education. I am Sai, and I look forward to exploring the next frontier of financial reality together.